Hey everyone, welcome to a new video and a new video series that I'm going to be starting. If you're new here, hello, my name is Nathan Jones. I do a lot of things Blu-ray. I do all things movies. Today I'm actually going to be talking about a new series that I'm starting that I'm really excited about, and I want to actually shout out two of my subscribers for kind of giving me the idea for this. That's Rage5606 and Christopher Z. They both kind of asked me about doing some kind of movie reviews slash movie recommendations, and so I was thinking, kind of brainstorming, and I'm actually currently going through a couple of series right now. I'm going through a queue of mine, so I've decided to call this the Q series. This is what's in my queue. So these are some series of films that I've been watching. I dip in and out of. I'm eventually trying to finish all of these films in this, sequence, and so that's what this is all about. So let me explain a little bit. So I'm watching a few series right now. The first film that I will talk about, the first set of films that I'll be talking about, are documentary series. Another thing that we're going to be talking about today is that I'm going to be talking about a production company's line of work for this particular character and property. Another thing I'm going to talk about is a director's work that I'm going to be talking about, curation from Criterion, and this little box set of mine that I'm going through. And then the last thing that I'm doing is I'm going through a film series that's really popular at the current moment. I hope you enjoy this video. Give me some comments down below whether or not you like this, and let's just dive right into it. Alright, so the first series that I'm going to be talking about is something that I've been going through and that I'm just so blown away by, and that is the Up series. This is Michael App's Up series, and so this started in 1964 with 7 Up. And so what this series really is about, I've talked about it a few times actually recently in a lot of my videos that have popped up before this. I've been going through each and every one of these series because Michael Apt, he interviews 14 individuals, these kids at the age of 7, and every 7 years checks up on them. So there's a 14 up, 21 up, 28, 35, 42, 49, 56, and 63. So I have currently watched all of them up to 56. So I have yet to see 63 Up, which is the last one, which came out in 2019. Now I will say that this series has a wide array of emotions and effects that happen to the participants that are in this psychological experiment. But it's really, really cool how they play with time here. So I had just been exposed to this last year, or actually, no wait, the beginning of this year, yeah. Right after I got back from China, I had this on my radar, and I don't exactly know how I haven't seen this series or actually even heard about it. So Michael Apt is this director who started this experiment in the 60s, and kind of looks at the British youth. And so this is set in England, and it is following all of these kids who eventually obviously grow into adults. And they're all from different social backgrounds, economic backgrounds, religious backgrounds, and political ones as well. And so throughout the series, you see the lives of these participants, as they grow. They get kids, they have jobs, they do not have jobs. Are they going down the paths that they originally kind of, speculated when they were 7 years old? At 7, they were really, really adorable, and like kind of just explaining like, oh, this is what I want to do when I grow up. This is who I want to be with. Like, oh, do I want to be in a relationship? Like, I don't like girls, or I don't like boys, things like that. And so it's really, really endearing. And so then once you get further and further into the series, you start to notice some of these psychological effects that being in this series has, because a lot of people in England recognized a lot of the participants and kept asking them if they were in the series, and several of the participants have bowed out of the experiment. One, for instance, Charles, I believe is his name, kind of dipped out after 21 Up and has not been back since. Yeah, so it changes throughout this entire lifespan of these just, we're getting just a little bit of their lives. And that's what's really, really endearing about it. And also, like, this clearly inspired Richard Linklater's work, with the Before trilogy, which is behind me. I don't know if you can see that. I have the posters behind me, but he plays with time as well. And so it's just inspired a lot. And honestly, I'm just really excited to finish 63 Up, and then cannot wait for 70 Up and see where we go from there. And so this is a really hard to watch series as well, because like I said, there are some some issues with some of the participants who are, maybe not so keen with the series, or how Michael Apt asks questions or how he probes into their lives, because sometimes it's very personal. So there's a wide array of different people in this series. So I highly recommend checking out the Up series. This is 7 through 63 Up. And how you can get this is you can get this on Amazon. This is a Region 2, it's a Region B, so that means you're going to have a Region free player to check this out. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere else. Amazon Prime, I believe, has some episodes, but yeah, check out Up series if you haven't. It's wonderful, so check it out. Alright, so next is a production company that I have just recently been involved in and kind of kept my mind going. It is the Hammer Horror Dracula series. And so right here is the third movie in the Dracula series. This is the one I'm currently on. I have not seen this one yet. This is Dracula Prince of Darkness, starring Christopher Lee. This is 1966? 65. But the first one is Horror of Dracula in 1958 with Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. And this is kind of just the Hammer horror films, and honestly I'm just super excited to jump into Hammer horror. In fact, actually over here, right here, this is an 8-film collection that I got that has actually the second Brides of Dracula, the second film in the series, but it also has 7 other, Hammer horror films: The Curse of the Werewolf, Night Creatures, The Phantom of the Opera, I'm not going to say this right, Paranoiac, Kiss of the Vampire, Nightmare, and The Evil Frankenstein. But with the Dracula series, I have all of them except for The 7 Golden Vampires, which is actually on its way. But right here, I have Horror of Dracula, The Brides of Dracula, Prince of Darkness. We have Dracula Has Risen from the Grave, Taste the Blood of Dracula, Dracula AD 1972, and finally The Satanic Rites of Dracula, and then followed by The 7 Golden Vampires. And so, yeah, that's the Hammer Horror Dracula series. I cannot wait to sink my fangs further into this series. It's super fun, super English, and I love it. So it's got gore, it's got some weird effects in it too, bats on strings, but it's really, really fun. And I want to say thank you to Daniel Epler, who is one of my good friends, and I've been on his Cobwebs episode. If you have not heard Cobwebs Podcast, it's a gothic cinema podcast. Definitely check that out in the description down below. I'm going to be posting that. I've been on a few times talking about Kino Lorber, a few horror films, but also Warner Archive as well. I believe that's coming up soon. So yeah, check out the Hammer Horror Dracula series. It's really, really, really great. A lot of these movies are on the Warner Archive collection, but some of them are like this one are a Scream Factory. So yeah, check those out if you can down below. Alright, so we're moving on from horror films to the imagination. So this came out actually not too long ago from the Criterion collection, and this is a collection of works from one Karel Zeman, a Czechoslovakian filmmaker. He is just wonderful. And what's really, really cool about this, besides the fact that it's packaged incredibly well, with really cool artwork and design, right here, there's some pop-up art here, Journey to the Beginning of Time, right there. This is the one movie I have seen so far. We also have Invention for Destruction, right there, with a little balloon. Got that little art. And the fabulous Baron Munchausen, which clearly inspired Terry Gilliam. A lot of this stuff inspired Terry Gilliam and a lot of artists to come. So what's really, really cool about Karel Zeman, and why it is important to me, is back in the day when I was a child, I had watched Journey to the Beginning of Time, at least the American edition, when I was a kid. I remember it very vividly. I remember these 4 kids going into this cave and then coming out and then going back in time, It's very reminiscent of Journey to the Center of the Earth, which this was a clear inspiration from that Karel Zeman got. But what's really incredible is that this Czech filmmaker had a really great process, and he really utilized practical effects, stop motion animation, and claymation as well. Just really kind of put you into these incredible worlds that as a child are super magical, and also revisiting them is super magical. And so, like I said, I have seen the first film, Journey to the Beginning of Time. I rewatched it. I actually watched the Czech version just to get the original down, and I loved it. And I absolutely cannot wait to check out Invention for Destruction. I've heard really great things. I watched the first set of bonus features on the first disc, and it had a really, really great animation filmmaker. I believe David Stevenson is his name. John Stevenson, my bad, talking about Zeman and how incredible his work was. He also mentioned that when comparing CGI to the effects that Zeman created and crafted, you can feel the humanity behind it. You can feel the human behind the illusion, which was really, really cool. And I like, wow, that makes so much sense. Like, you know, these films aren't really made anymore with all these different effects that are going on today. And, you know, you can still feel that there's humans moving puppets or moving the claymation, or there's humanity to it, and I think that's really, really spectacular and a really great way to look at these films by Karel Zeman. So I cannot wait to check out this film, these film series. So all of these, Journey to the Beginning of Time came out in 1955, Invention for Destruction came out in 1958, and The Fabulous Baron Munchausen came out in 1962. So you can get this from Criterion themselves, Amazon. I believe these films are also on the Criterion channel, so check them out if you haven't seen them. It's a wonderful time, and it'll bring you some immense joy, and it'll wow you as well. It's really magical, so check out this. Alright, so the last film series that we're going to be talking about is a ridiculous one, and I was totally against it for the longest time, which I think is hilarious. It's the Fast and the Furious collection, right here. So I watched Fast and the Furious back in 2001 when I was 9 years old, and I realized this film series really wasn't for me. I'm not a big fan of cars or action sequences. I'm even at 9 years old, I was like, this movie's okay. And also it's like just really cheesy and whatnot, but I kind of abandoned it at that point. And then obviously, as this franchise has only grown bigger, I believe that Fast 5 was the one that really kind of took speed, and a lot of people just, like, oh wow, it's a heist film now. And so it actually, garnered its attention, and it got bigger and bigger. And then obviously since Fast 5, I believe, it got its popularity, and its schlockiness became a joke. And so I am actually currently going through this series with my roommate, Joseph, who's been on the channel before one time doing a Criterion Closet Pick with me, but also we used to do a podcast together, and I hope he will eventually be on the channel again. But regardless, we have seen the first 6 Fast and the Furious films. One thing that I've been doing as we're doing this is we're curating this, watching them at nightly, at least maybe 1 or 2 of them a week. We have been mixing NOS, the energy drink, which also fuels cars, by the way, with alcohol, with Corona, a Corona Extra. So actually, it sounds crazy, but it actually tastes really good. I cannot endorse that, but if you want to drink that and have a good time with it, NOS and Corona. Corona is a sponsor of Fast and the Furious, so just do that if you want. But yeah, this is a film series that if you just turn your mind off and enjoy the action sequences and all of the craziness in this film series with Paul Walker and Vin Diesel and company, you're gonna have a good time. Yeah, so I'm really excited. Fast and the Furious 6 left off with a cliffhanger, and so I'm really excited to check out Fast 7, I believe is what it's called. Anyway, yeah, Fast 7. Furious 7, my bad. So anyway, yes, that's the last film series that I'm going to be talking about, Fast and the Furious collection. So, I hope you like this new video series, the Q series. I have been watching a lot of these films in order. I've been kind of intermixing them. I'm not going to, binge all of them. That's just not my personality. And so I'm going to be doing this periodically. I hope to do this at least once a month. I hope the Q series is a success, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Give me a like down below. What have you been watching? I want to hear it down in the description down below. Share this video, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you next time. I'm not jonesing around.